All right, in this video, we're going to look at a way to use our console to do some troubleshooting. And the first thing I'm going to do, we're looking at our future value calculator here. We can open this. Well, we'll do that in a little bit. We'll open it in the default browser. But what I'm going to do is, since we've kind of been troubleshooting this calculate future value function, let's look at some ways that we can look at the contents out of here without using breakpoints. So one of the things we could do is let's do a console.log, and we can put in here that our calculate future value function has started. And all that means is once this function gets called, this output, calculate future value function has been started, is going to print this out to our console, and we can look at it, and then we can be ensured that our actual calculate function is working. We're not sure it's working, but we know that it's at least been started. If we wanted to, towards the very end, we could put another console log saying, hey, it's returning this value. So let's just try it like this. I'm going to save this, open this as the default, open our HTML file in the default browser. And then I'm going to stick in our test values here, 3.5, 10 years. And I'll hit calculate future value. It's working right now. Let me pull up my F12 tools and look at the console, and you can see I have that message that calculate future value function has started. That got logged to the console so we can see it. So I'll refresh my page. I'll do 5,000, 3% for 5 years. Calculate. And if I click on console, I had debugging on apparently. Let's turn that off. And we'll continue it. And you can see that it starts up. Calculate future value function has started. So it just prints out. So we know at least that the function has started. Now, what if we wanted to actually look at some values while that was running without actually using breakpoints? Let's see what else we can add in here. Let's actually print out our future value. Let's just console log and just print out the future value. And maybe we should do something else here. Let's do I. Let's print out I. We'll log out I plus the future value. Actually, let's put a space in there, a couple spaces, and then future value. Let's do that. We'll print out the number so we know how many times through the loop we're gone and what the future value is at that time. And then save it. Let's go back to our browser. I'll refresh it. 10,000, 3.5, 10 years, calculate future value. And I can see here the first time through the future value is 10,350, then it goes to 10,712. And we can check the values each time through our loop without actually using the next button and going through that loop manually. So we can log these out to the console. All right, let's go back. Let's look at a couple other things we can do with the console to look at things. Let's go to our let's do this. Down here for our invalid values. We're printing a message out to the users, but let's also do a console. So if their value is invalid, we'll do a console.error. And we'll just type the words investment invalid. So we're logging a console error instead of a console.log. And down here for invalid value for the rate, let's add another one. Let's do, we got my semicolon up there, console, oops, console dot warn. All right, let's save this. So I got one if the investment value is not correct and one if the rate value is not correct. I'm doing an error on if the investment value is bad. I'm doing a warning if the rate is invalid. Let's go ahead and go back to our browser, refresh it. Let's do this. Do a -5. Okay, so now you can see we got our error message to the user: investment amount must be a valid number greater than 0. But we also had an error logged in here, and notice it comes out as red. And then let's do it with a good value for that, and we'll put a -3.5 for our interest rate. And we'll do it again, and you can see for a warn we get a yellow. So those are 3 different ways that we can do. We can do a console log to log things. Console warn basically logs things but makes them yellow. And a console.error logs things and makes them red. One other thing we could do with the console is a console trace. So let's go back to our future value. And I'm going to do a console.trace. And what this does is print out our call stack. So we can see we're in the calculate future value function, but how did we get here? What functions have been called to get here? The trace will keep track of the functions that called this function. So let's save that. Go back. Let's put some good values in here. We'll calculate. And I probably need to refresh it so I get the latest version of it. 3.5, number of years 10, calculate future value. And then we get our console.trace here. That says, basically tells us gives us the locations and the line numbers from where our functions got called. So we can trace through how we got to this point. So we got called from this anonymous function on line 51. Calculate future value got called line 9. So console trace, console log, console warn, and console.error are additional ways we can put code in to help us troubleshoot. To see if values, now I use all valid values here, but it will help you find if one of these values is invalid. It'll help you trace the problems down.